Hello and welcome to Nerus. Today we'll be continuing where we left off, which, if you recall, is right after Shax goes to sleep, and he has kind of a confrontation with a noble. Nerus doesn't act exactly angry at him, but more like concerned. So, without further ado, let's get started. I opened my eyelids. I looked at the clock, and it was still very early. Enough I would have preferred to keep sleeping. But my body felt restless. I couldn't stop myself from moving, nor clear my mind from thoughts about what had taken place the night before. That towering figure looming over me, the strength he held my shoulder with, that white fur, how soft it would be if I dug my fingers in it, how warm. He was close enough I got to smell his perfume, and electricity ran up my spine to my brain, and my eyes jolted open. Perhaps I should get up. Can't let pesky physical cravings get a hold of my mind. No, sir. Well, how high will the chances of him also being interested in me be? I climbed out of bed and opened the wardrobe to retrieve my tabard and hat. Still 2 hours left until breakfast. What can I do in the meantime? I have never seen the TV in the parlor on, but checking it out is still worth a shot. If that doesn't work out, I got a lot of reading to catch up on. I settled for that plan and went downstairs. As I entered the parlor, I was received by an unexpected sight. I found Nerus sitting on one of the sofas, his 4 eyes closed and arms crossed. I wondered if he had fallen asleep like that, but soon he opened his eyes. Oh, I wasn't expecting to find you here, great Shapeshifter.
Having trouble sleeping?
I averted my eyes. A bit. Is that why you were awake already too?
Mm-hmm. I decided to come here to relax before the day starts, at least.
Oh, I see. I came to check out the TV here. Does it have reception?
No,
What about video games? Do you have those?
not at all. What we do have is a video player and some old movies.
Oh, watching a movie will be nice too, yes. Care to join me, sir? Nerus looked away, a bothered look on his face. It made me think that he was trying to enjoy some time alone. I might be annoying him. I better excuse myself out. It's fine if you don't. I'll go look for something else to do.
No, come back here.
As I was about to leave the parlor, Nerus called me back. And with quite a forceful tone at that. I lowered my head and tucked my shoulders by reflex, but I managed to stand more or less straight before turning back to Nerus. He cleared his throat, got up, and approached the TV.
Let us watch a movie. We have just enough time.
Oh, sure. What do you say I make some tea to drink while we watch too?
If that is what you wish.
Great. It won't take long. Don't start without me. As I prepared the tea, I had rattled my brain, wondering if it would be alright to sit next to Nero during the movie. The sofa was the most comfortable spot to watch the TV from, but there were other seats. But there shouldn't have been anything strange about a great shapeshifter and his warper sitting together. I was overthinking it. After bringing the tea, I sat down next to him without saying anything to avoid slipping up and making things awkward. Nerus glanced at me and that was all. I recognized the smell of his cologne mixed with something else. An ashy smell, like that of a fire put out by a persistent, bitter, cold wind. Ashes scattered around, unable to ignite again, becoming indistinguishable from the snow.
You may start the movie, Shax.
Oh, right. The movie was about giant monsters fighting for dominance. The plot was very simple, and the mortals, to my surprise, didn't seem to play a huge role, but the action and set pieces were pretty exciting. It kept me at the edge of my seat. I felt my heart sink when the bad monster dropped the good one from the stratosphere, seemingly securing its own victory. However, the comeback that followed more than made up for it. I couldn't help but clap as I attempted to sing along the few vocals during that scene. Nerus, as usual, wore a stoic expression the entire time. I questioned if he even liked the movie, but he wouldn't have suggested it if he disliked it. He wasn't one to show his excitement, I figured. In any case, this is pretty nice, even if it isn't the best kind of movie to drink tea to. Maybe I should have brought some soda instead. Well, Nero drank it anyway. How was the tea, sir?
Not as refined as Evo's, but still good.
I'll take that as a compliment.
And what did you think of the movie?
Oh, it was so thrilling! I'm surprised you like this kind of movie, sir.
How come?
I was expecting a more serious and somber movie from someone as no-nonsense as you, if that makes sense. There is nothing wrong with you liking it, of course.
Yes, I know.
Oh, so who made it? I would like to see more from the world this came from.
Unfortunately, it is from a civilization that went extinct some time ago.
Oh.
But fear not, mortals have a fixation on giant monsters. You will be surprised to learn how many of them make monster features of this kind. It is a very common archetype.
You can't blame them. It's a fun concept.
Mm-hmm.
So, sir,
What is the matter?
I held my mouth half open, looking a bit stupid as I tried to come up with something to say. What can I ask him? I know pretty much his entire routine by now, so I hope it isn't an impertinent question, but when do you go out with your friends? I imagine it gets lonely in here after all. Nero's blinked at my question, his gaze shifting ever so slightly.
I meet with other great shapeshifters when summoned.
But that is part of your work, right? Do you ever just meet for pleasure?
No. Although, if it is for pleasure, I do occasionally visit the brothel in order to relieve my earthly needs.
I see. Jeez, he's a bit too straightforward. Anyway, so he's a hermit? And not quality for a leader to have, but I suppose he doesn't let it get in his way. I was starting to feel strange. My throat burned, and there was an oppressive sensation on my chest. Almost as if someone was trying to crush it or suffocate me. But I didn't have time to dwell on it. I noticed Nero's lean just a bit closer, his nose twitching. What is he sniffing around for? Is something the matter?
You smell strange, suddenly.
He can't tell if my mood changes from my smell, can he? His head is canine in shape, so this could be compromising. Time to escape. Well, I'll take this to the kitchen now. I bet Sebos is preparing breakfast right now. I could stop by and give him a hand while I'm at it. I jumped off the sofa and walked to the cart I had used to bring the tea. However, Nerus stopped me from leaving, again. I turned to see him, fidgeting with my tabard.
Wait. I want to inform you that you will be performing a job other than a delivery soon.
Oh?
I meant to bring it up yesterday, but due to the visit and you heading to bed early, I did not have a chance to bring it up.
What will I be doing, sir?
It's simple. I must attend to the great Shapeshifter gathering at the capital, and you will be accompanying me.
I felt my eyes lighting up at the prospect. That sounds so exciting!
Indeed. But, what? I was expecting you to be nervous.
Oh, no. As long as there aren't a lot of silly rules for me to break, I should be fine. I have attended to a couple of gatherings when living with my family.
So you have. Do you know how to dance, Shax?
Of course.
And can you increase your height?
That I'm afraid I can do. Why?
There might be a ballroom event. Usually, a great shapeshifter and their warper will perform a pair, but in our case, our height difference will be an impediment.
Oh.
Do not look so disappointed. We won't be the only ones not performing a pair. If you would still like to participate, you can look for a partner more fitting for you.
Yes, you're right. Did I look that let down?
We will attend the gathering next week. Make sure to look your best for the occasion.
Yes, sir. After that, I exited the parlor and started heading to the kitchen. That could have gone a lot worse, all things considered. Is this jealousy I'm feeling? Over the brothel detail? Perhaps I should try to keep him busy so he doesn't have time to visit one again. Although I doubt he wants to spend all his free time together. Besides, it's as if there were walls all around him. He doesn't show what's beneath. Maybe he just doesn't want to get involved with me on a personal level. I shouldn't forget why I'm here. This infatuation will pass.
There you are.
Oh, there you are, great Shapeshifter. I'm sorry if I'm late. When I went downstairs that morning, I hadn't found Nerus neither in the parlor nor the dining hall. It would have been strange if he overslept, so I had figured he went outside already.
Not at all. Since I woke up earlier than expected, I came to watch the flowers.
You really like them, don't you?
Mm-hmm. They can be pleasant.
The white flowers had a ghostly aura to them, much like their surroundings, but glowed with a pale light that wasn't found anywhere else. The smell was also pretty nice. They remind me a bit of you.
Is that so?
I meant no offense.
In what world is that offensive? Unless you are trying to imply something about me and the flowers.
No, I just assumed I had said something wrong. In reality, I think both the flowers and you are quite beautiful, sir.
How can you say that with a straight face? Right after apologizing over nothing.
Oh? Did I say something odd?
You are quieter-headed, are you not?
Perhaps he wasn't wrong. I truly didn't understand at the moment. It took a second for the gears within my head to turn and comprehend what I had just said. But rather than muttering another apology, I grabbed my hat and took it down, as if trying to bury my head in it. I felt like I wanted the earth to swallow me whole right in that instant. Ugh, I can't believe I said that out loud. What was I thinking?
Well then, how would you say I compare to the roses, Shax?
Ugh.
Truly curious. In any case, while I sympathize with your current state of embarrassment, we do not have time for this. Let us be on our way. If you have anything you would like to tell me, it can wait until we come back.
Yes, you are right. Why do you have to say it like that, though? Anyway, please, take my hand. We need to be in direct contact for me to teleport the both of us. I took one glove off and extended my hand to Nerus. It shocked me a little to see him take it without any hesitation after what I had told him, but I tried not to let it show. It was true that I needed to touch him in order to take him with me. But his padded palm, as well as his soft, warm fur, did feel nice. Come on, Shax, hold yourself together. If you act like nothing happened, he might decide to do the same. Okay, give me a moment to visualize our destination. When I closed my eyes, I felt the entire world around me shift. Next time my eyelids will open, I'd be looking down upon my own immobile body, still standing in front of the house and holding hands with Nerus. I have always found it difficult to explain what happened to me while using my warping magic. It was as if time had frozen and my soul had been ejected not only from my flesh, but from the realm of the living. My spirit looked at the world through what seemed like stained glass. Everything seemed distant, like a vague memory. My surroundings, dark and empty. Back when I first discovered I possessed this ability, I panicked. I didn't understand what was happening, to the point I thought I had died and become a ghost. Luckily, I was a curious child, and I had asked my family's warper how his magic worked. Eventually, I found my way out thanks to that, but I dread thinking what would have happened had I not remembered that exchange. I couldn't have been the first shapeshifter trapped in this space. Has there ever been someone that couldn't escape? If so, what happened to them in the end? I prefer not to know, so I never asked. Seems everything is in order. To the capital we go, then. My disembodied soul swam high into the deep sea that this ethereal, dark and cold world was. Then I made my way to the capital. It would be wrong to say I just traveled all the way there. When I focused my mind on the capital, a ray of light broke through the darkness in front of me. A white undulating light fighting to shine through this murky ocean. And from that same direction, I heard the past echoes produced by the racket of dozens of shapeshifters walking the same street. I kept swimming, and in the blink of an eye, I was there. Nero is too big. Just switching places with some rock or big trash can won't do this time. I need something big enough to bring him here, something no one will miss for a few hours if possible. I looked around the blurry, artificially colored world for anything that fit that criteria. I ended up settling for a tree in the sidewalk, since, as long as I took the roots with me, I would be able to return it intact later. I placed my translucent palm on the tree, closed my eyes again, and then...
Oh, jeez.
In a fraction of a second, we materialized where the tree had just been. A few passing shapeshifters shot surprised looked at us, but quickly went on their way, although some of them stayed to stare daggers at Nerus. The city was bright, a stark contrast to the dark manor I spent most of my time in. Murmur flooded the streets, full of life compared to that desolate forest. I liked my life at the mansion, but it was hard not to miss all of this. But as for Nerus, is something the matter, sir?
It's the sun. Too bright.
I don't have a problem with it because I have been going out of the house pretty much daily. But you have been locked up in there for who knows how long, huh? Nerus nodded while keeping his 4 eyes shut. We just need to get to that big white building over there, right? Don't let go of my hand, sir. I'll walk you over there. I smirked, even though he couldn't see it.
Thank you.
The meeting was going to take place at the Great Architect Hall. The white building stood tall in front of the largest plaza in town. It was hard to miss. As we approached, I started to make out the form of a pair of doormen standing in front of the theater's glass door. There's 2 men guarding the entrance. Should I introduce myself to them, or...?
They will recognize me.
Nerus managed to open his eyes once we stepped under the gigantic building's shadow, and then walked just a bit ahead of me. The doorman watched him, looking for any sign that he might be transformed, and let him through without a word when they were certain he was the real deal. I put the glove I had taken off back on and followed the great shapeshifter. Oh wow! This place looks great!
The buffet is over there. What do you say we begin?
Of course! I'm starving! We walked to an exceedingly long table, plates packed with all sorts of food spread across its entire surface. And its center, surrounded by several stacks of drinking glasses, were 3 huge cups almost overflowing with a red substance. Not being quite sure what all of this was, I limited myself to picking the foods I was more familiar with. Some fish, salad, cheese, bread, and of course, giant fireflies. Nerus was picking up meat dishes for the most part. Some important-looking shapeshifter will approach Nerus every once in a while, but all of them went about their business after exchanging greetings. Not even at noble gatherings they served this much food. Quite impressive.
Do not eat so fast. You are going to choke.
Foolishness! I did choke. I started to have a coughing fit and looked away from the table. I heard Nerus sigh, and then felt his big hand rub and pat my back. Even though I was looking down, my cheeks started feeling hot, knowing a lot of eyes must have been drawn to me due to all the noise I made.
I have a hard time believing you come from a noble family sometimes.
Sorry. The role never fit, if you ask me.
I will go look for a breakfast for you. Stay put.
I nodded, and with that, Nerus walked away.
Getting to the center of the table took me way longer than I had estimated. Mainly because it seemed as if I could move 2 steps without someone addressing me. This much was typical at gatherings like this, and that was why I disliked them to a degree. However, back then, keeping appearances was necessary to keep our people going, and from losing hope. If we, the ones at the top, crumbled under the pressure of eternal conflict that afflicted us, then the rest of the shapeshifters will soon follow. To us, giving up on our God-given ordeal will mean to deny the very reason of our existence, and if it came to that, the only thing that will remain for us in the future will be utter despair. That is what I believed, and what motivated me to try and play along with this farce. This attempt at convincing ourselves that things were progressing smoothly. But I am getting ahead of myself. So, back to the gathering. Every time someone approaches me, I will say, "Good to see you are doing well. I would like to talk more, but my warper choked on some food and I was on my way to get him some punch. Let us talk more later." With a reassuring smile on my face. A sigh of relief escaped my mouth once more. At long last, I reached the punch cups. I was filling a glass when something bumped into my arm, causing me to spill some of the red liquid on myself. An eyebrow raised, I looked sideways to my right.
Apologies for the punch.
I turned to the slender, colorful and ill-dressed figure. A forced smile on my face. "Nomino, do not worry about this. More importantly, it is delightful to see you here. It has been long since we last met, has it not?" Nomino did not answer. I could tell he was staring right at me, though, despite him lacking any distinctive bias. I definitely do not want to deal with this right now. "Well, I would like to talk, but my warper..."
Big White. You got a new warper. Yes.
"That is right. As I was saying,
Sir, I feel better already. Oh, am I interrupting something?
For goodness sake. No, not at all, Shax.
Oh, also, is that punch on your suit?
I accidentally spilled some on myself. In any event, allow me to introduce you to each other. Nomino, this is Shax, my new warper. And Shax, this is Nomino. You might have heard of him, considering he is the leader of us Shapeshifters.
Oh my, it's a pleasure to meet you, sir. Do forgive me for not recognizing you. While I have heard a lot about you, I didn't know what you looked like.
Shax got on to one knee and bowed to Nomino. The great Shapeshifter looked in his general direction, arms hanging limp from his shoulders. To me, he looked sort of confused by the gesture.
Shax. You... Finally.
Even by Shapeshifter standards, Nomino always seemed to give off otherworldly aura. His soft posture, stiff movements, paused speech, and above all the lack of facial features all the other Shapeshifters possessed, made him an uncanny creature. The reason for this was that, indeed, he was the most otherworldly of her kind. He was the only one that could contract the eons, after all. But even so, now he was speaking with an ominous tone that was uncharacteristic for him. Shax had picked up on this and looked at me, if asking what he should do.
Then... Shax. Huh? Is something the matter?
Nomino ignored him, however, instead turning to me in what felt like a fraction of a second.
So, what do you think?
About what? Nomino fell silent. Then he inclined his head and started fidgeting with his fingers. Huh?
Don't you think he's cute?
What?
Oh, that was all. No need to act so scary over a compliment. But yes, I have been told I'm cute. Sorry.
In any case, Nomino, I am surprised to see you here. What's the occasion?
Was bored.
Understandable, I suppose. Do you plan to partake in the activities?
We'll just watch. Not interested in participating. Will there be anything besides the dancing?
There will be a wrestling event, too.
Whoa! Oh, why? The big white kept suggesting we made it a thing, and we relented.
You have to admit, this is the most entertaining event in our gatherings.
Maybe for you. Bet you always come through as a champion.
As surprising as this may seem to you, no. I do not think I have ever beat Nomino the times he participated. But since he will be abstaining, I will most likely win, yes.
Really? As expected from our leader, I suppose. Thanks. Anyway, the bar room will start soon. Is that so? We shall go join, sir.
You can go ahead.
No, I mean we should go dance together.
Did we not agree that it will not work with our heights?
Oh, come on. We don't know for sure until we try.
I let a rather outside. Fine. It is not like a dance between a great shapeshifter and their warper means much.
I guess so, but it doesn't mean it will be any less fun.
True. Well, take care, Nomino.
Yes, it was nice meeting you. You too. War. Play.
Shax dragged me by the hand to the center of the hall. I did not resist, but looked away from the short shapeshifter the entire time. Like leaves carried by the wind, thoughts flew within my mind before consolidating into a vortex. Why am I even honoring him? I should have turned him down. But doing that just doesn't feel right. He looks so happy and excited. I suppose I do not mind going along with him if he keeps smiling like that. I do not dislike how forward and carefree he is around me. I would like that not to change if possible. But I wonder if that is all there is to it. But it has to be, right? I still do not even know him at all that well.
Okay, follow my lead, sir. I promise I'll make this work.
No, wait. You follow mine.
Huh? Oh, okay.
Let me give a single warning. I will be manhandling you quite a bit. Maybe if you had insisted the other day, we could have prepared something more elegant. But there is only so much I can do on such a short notice.
Fair enough. Don't worry too much about me. I'm pretty sturdy.
I'm pretty sturdy. We will see.
Nerus wasn't kidding about manhandling me. When they had mentioned a ballroom event, what popped out in my head was a waltz, since that's what we danced at home. This dance, however, was faster and a lot more dynamic than that, and they used a lot of moves I wasn't familiar with. I struggled to keep up with Nerus as he pulled me into his chest, then down and away, then spun me back, left, right. I kept up with him just fine when we were both dancing on the floor. He made sure to make a small step so I wouldn't have trouble following his pace. But as soon as he started doing all those sudden stylish moves, I lost all control of the situation. I knew I was coming out of this exhausted and dizzy, but that didn't stop it from being fun. And the way he handled me, as well as how he held me close at times, made my heart flutter. Was it right to get this sort of satisfaction out of dancing with my superior? I wouldn't say so, but I didn't care. Those hands could have snapped me in half with about as much resistance as a branch, but even as he was performing these sudden movements, I felt safe between them. Each time one of them walked behind my back and pulled me to his chest, I wished to close my eyes and remain there, basking in the gentle warmth, so particular to the great shapeshifter. the flickering crimson flame that felt like it fueled his every movement.
You are doing well, Shax. Hang in there.
I could tell the song was nearing its end, and that Nerus was preparing to wrap the dance up. After throwing me around some more, the great Shapeshifter got down to one knee and instructed me to lean back, leaving me hanging from his hand on my back. I thought striking that pose would be the end of it, but I couldn't have been more wrong. Nerus, who was looming over me, looked at me in the eye. Then, ever so slowly, he leaned closer and pressed his snout against my exposed neck. His cold nose pressed down on my feathers, wetting them and firing all kinds of signals right into my brain. My breathing became heavier, and the one response my tired body could utter was attempting to prop itself closer to him. He caught the hint, though, which prompted him to pull me closer and, to my surprise, bared his fangs. His teeth made their way through my plumage and grazed against my skin. It made every single feather on my body stand up. I couldn't hold it. My eyes shut closed and a gasp escaped my throat as I reached to embrace him. Unfortunately, it was then that the host's booming voice pulled the both of us back into reality. He was announcing both the end of the ballroom and the start of the wrestling contest. Nerus put me back on the floor and then stood up.
Excuse me for that. I lost sight of myself for an instant.
He was avoiding looking at me again. All the excitement from just now crashed into a pile of disappointment and shame. I couldn't believe he had reacted like that after that display in front of all the other guests. But, as usual, I tried not to let it show. Although I imagine my cheeks must have been very red, regardless.
Are you alright?
Oh, yes. He was avoiding looking at me, pretending to be fixing his suit. I was confused. Why the sudden change in attitude? I couldn't imagine what was going through his mind, and that made me afraid. Perhaps I had inadvertently violated a boundary, but the way he had nibbled me made me doubt this. I just couldn't understand. Was I supposed to reassure him? Or to apologize for embarrassing the both of us? All the eyes around us weren't helping with the nerves. He must have felt the same way in that regard.
Shax, would you like to go get some fresh air?
Yes, I believe I need some right now. But you are gonna miss the wrestling contest.
It does not matter. I suppose it will be interesting to see who wins without me and Nomino participating. Besides, I want to have a word with you if you don't mind.
Okay. Oh, did I just mess everything up? He doesn't look happy at all. I was out of line since the moment I asked him to dance with me.
We will be going for a walk.
Nerus said to the doorman as we walked out of the hall. We spent the following 10 minutes walking around the city in silence. It was becoming unbearable. I figured Nerus didn't want to talk until we had some degree of privacy, so when I spotted a bench on the side of a street without many passersby, I suggested we should take a seat there. The great Shapeshifter answered with a half-hearted nod. The silence still didn't break though. Nerus sat still, gazing at the clouds above us, while I hung my head and occasionally shot him a glance. In the end, I couldn't bear the tension and spoke first. I'm sorry. My behavior back at the hall was unacceptable. I didn't have the right to ask anything from you, great Shapeshifter. I was about to get off the bench to offer him an apologetic bow, but Nerus blocked my path with his arm. He was finally looking at me.
Do you always apologize over nothing?
But I...
Shax, you did nothing to bother me. Please stop acting as if you did. It was not my intention for it to seem like that. I'm just thinking right now.
I opened my mouth as if to retort, but I couldn't utter a word. In part because deep down I knew Nerus was right, that I hadn't done anything wrong. The atmosphere back at the gathering had grown awkward, and being unable to see what had caused Nerus' behavior to take such a turn, I had blamed myself. But there was a second reason. The stoic look that until now had always been in Nerus' eye was now gone, replaced by a softer, more tender one. His stern voice as well had gone through the same transformation. He was being genuine right now, I thought. Those eyes, there was something new in them that neither of us could understand. There was another moment of silence, Nerus struggling to gather his thoughts, and then he spoke again.
Listen, Shax. I am going to be as honest as I can.
He placed his hand on my cheek, nudging me so I would face him.
You are a very weird shapeshifter.
Okay?
I mean it as a compliment. We shapeshifters weren't born equal. Every single one of us is bound to the role granted to us by God, and said role manifests itself through the magic we were born with, yes? And in that same way, there exists the appropriate way for us to behave, depending on our role. Be it a stern, but ultimately kind leader, or a simple servant who shouldn't involve himself in his master's business more than necessary. I am just like that. But you, I get the feeling that is not the case for you. It is true you still stick to formalities, but you aren't afraid of speaking your mind or being true to yourself, rather than to your role.
I, you are reading too much into it, sir. I am clumsy, and that causes me to overstep boundaries or make mistakes. There's nothing in me as admirable as what you describe.
I recognize your clumsiness plays a role in it, yes, but I still believe it is a respectable trait you have. It's a very rare thing to see in our world.
His hand slid off my cheek to the rest of my shoulder instead.
In any event, what I'm trying to tell you, Shax, is that I could never be displeased by things such as you wanting to dance with me or complimenting me. You could have insulted me this morning, and I wouldn't have cared as long as it was genuine. You don't play the role of the proper warper. But I am okay with that. You don't need to censor yourself around me. I want to make that clear. I wish I could be that honest with myself. I suppose that's one reason I'm telling you all this.
And the other one is...
Nothing in particular. As I said, I want to let you know.
Then you weren't mad earlier?
No, of course not. I'm sorry if my hesitation caused you anxiety.
Oh, it was pretty awkward when the host interrupted us, but when you said you wanted to talk, I was convinced I had screwed up for real. Nerus looked away briefly and then sighed, the corner of his mouth forming a grimace.
If anything, I should apologize. It must have been scary to have me gnawing at your neck.
It surprised me, but well, I didn't mind it, honest. I suppose a warning would have been nice. The bigger shapeshifter nodded.
It will not happen again, I promise.
It wasn't unpleasant at all, but now's not the best moment to bring that up. He really regrets it. Maybe I should change the topic, to try to cheer him up. Let's see. All this does explain some of his odd behaviors, I suppose. Anyone would be exhausted after wearing a mask for so long. I imagine even seeing others do it is exhausting for him now. Come on, Shax. Your great shapeshifter is confiding his personal feelings to you. You gotta say something. To be honest, I didn't even imagine you were carrying such a heavy weight all alone, sir. But if it's any consolation to you, I don't think it's your role that gives shapeshifters hope, but your good heart. Despite the things I did and my contempt for my family, you have only been kind to me. And I don't think that's because I'm your underling. I didn't get it at first, but... Do you remember the night that Noble visited?
What about it?
Back then, the reason you asked me if my family had harmed me was because of my reaction when he praised them, right? You could have interpreted my behavior as me being spiteful, but instead, you assume I had been wronged, and asked me about it. I don't think that sort of concern comes with any role. The truth is, you have a kind heart, sir. And I believe people look up to you, because they realize that's who you are at your core, even if you come off as cold or grumpy. I'm trying to say, you don't need to be perfect, or to live up to being put on a pedestal. You shouldn't be afraid to show your true face to others. But I understand it can be scary to let others know how you feel, especially for someone in your position. So, at the very least, I can always lend you an ear if you're in need. That way you don't need to bottle things up.
I would truly appreciate it.
You know, I'm glad we're having a straightforward conversation. When you are playing the great shapeshifter part, I have a hard time reading if you are having a good time or if I'm being an annoyance.
I am sorry about that, but I don't think I ever found you annoying.
That's a relief, sir.
And Shax, from now on you can stop calling me sir, or great shapeshifter.
I looked at him with inquisitive eyes.
I would like you to start calling me Nerus if you want.
Nerus? Sure. It's not that different, but it does sound catchier. Nerus. Nerus.
Do not repeat it like that. It sounds like you're trying to put a curse on me.
Sorry. I was trying to come up with something else to say, but I was drawing at a blank. Nerus had just unpacked a lot of the baggage he had been carrying all by himself for who knows how long. How could I know what was the right thing to tell him? Of course, he understood this and wasn't expecting me to say more than I already had. But I still wanted to offer him any comfort I could give him. And since words wouldn't come out anymore, I proposed something different to him. Sir, I mean, Nerus, can I hug you?
Excuse me?
It looks to me like you could use a hug. Besides, I want to show you I'm not afraid of you after what happened at the bathroom. Nerus blinked and I felt his hand move on my shoulder, being held up by hesitation. Having decided to take the initiative, I pretty much pounced at him and threw my arms around his waist. My sudden hug must have startled him, because I felt him jumping slightly, but after a few seconds, it was like all the tension in his body had melted away. Ever so tenderly, he enveloped me in his arms and squeezed me against him.
Thank you, Shax. You can't imagine how much all this means to me.
You are welcome. Also, you are so warm. I could fall asleep here.
Do not. We still need to go back to the hall.
I wish I had a few more moments to bask in his warmth and the weight of his embrace, but he had a point. Soon after, I pulled away from him and looked straight at his face. You're smiling, Nerus.
Why do you say it like it's a big surprise? Am I that grumpy the entire time?
By the way, Nerus, why did you nibble me of all things? Me letting a compliment slip is one thing, but that fell, well, on a whole other level.
It was an impulse, yes. Bottled up emotions bursting out, as you said.
I see. I'll keep that in mind then.
Oh, what are you trying to imply?
You are the one making implications.
Back then, I wasn't sure what to think, what to believe. Never before in my life I had trusted someone as I trusted him. No one made me feel relaxed as the way he did. No one made me forget the way he did. All I needed to drown my anger was to look at that smile. And yet, that very fact scared me. It terrified me. But never had I felt that way about anyone. And so, I wish to protect that smile forever. For as long as this body of mine allowed me to, with all the power I could muster, I would.
Well, that was today's chapter of Nerus. Some of you with a keen eye might have already started to notice some strange details looming over, like how Shax is already referring to his boss as Nerus over his internal monologue, even before he tells him that's his nickname. Also, the way Nerus started talking about the gathering as if it was something that had already happened. I don't know, putting those details together, we might start to assume the writer might be hiding information in plain sight, and the internal monologue might actually be the characters themselves telling the story from the future with the benefit of insight. Also, we're introduced to Nomino, who seemed to recognize Shax from somewhere, even if he doesn't know who he is yet. And well, that before he goes into his weird horseman of the apocalypse thing. I don't know, maybe it has something to do with the soul amnesia cases. Also, we know now that Nomino is capable of communicating with the Eons. And we also know that Nomino is the only one capable of communicating with the Eons, which makes him kind of a big deal. I do also find kind of sad we had a small intermission, like skipping a scene right after Nerus, Shax, and Nomino met, but that might have been just an accident of a programming, or maybe, I don't know, it meant nothing. So, yeah, those are interesting tidbits of information we found in this chapter. If you found anything else worth noting, please do tell us in the comment section. And also tell Nero if you want us to keep reading this visual novel. That's all for this time, and we'll be seeing each other in the next episode. Bye bye.